Hi everybody, welcome to Heartfelt Creative. I'm Diana. This video is well, it's not necessarily quick, but it's an easy video for making a little project that I designed last year or about a year and a half ago, called the Grab and Go Tote. I'll tell you some more about that in just a minute. Let's get the add mini stuff out, okay? There is no paper pattern to this video, to this project, so you'll need to write down all the measurements that I give you. You can make as many of these as you like. You can switch things up as you like. You can give them away as you like. It really doesn't matter to me. I made this originally for a specific reason, but you can actually use it for multiple things. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Grab and Go Tote. This was originally made when a company called Kimberbell Designs came out with their product line called Orange Pop Rulers. They are two sets of rulers, one in rectangle, one in square. I'm going to show them to you now. Let me just tilt the camera down. There. This is the rectangular set. You can see that they're three different sizes and they nest together. So this was the small, the medium, and the large. This is the rectangular set. There's another set just like this that are squares. Kimberbell made them specifically for cutting the squares in their quilts, their specific quilt patterns, a lot of them which are done in machine embroidery. So because, as you can see, they're not flimsy by any means, they're sturdy, but there's not much to them. And I'm always afraid that something like this can crack. And I've seen one that cracked like right here on a friend's set. So I wanted something a little padded, a little more than just throwing them in my template drawer that I have. So I created this tote. However, if you don't own the Orange Pop Rulers, you can use them for lots of things. The tote looks really simple, and it really is. This original prototype was made with placemats. Today we're going to actually use double-sided pre-quilted fabric because this isn't about pretty and fancy necessarily. It's just meant to be utilitarian. This is also a serger-friendly project, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So there's 3 pockets on this side, 3 pockets on this side, and if you own the Orange Pop Rulers, there's a specific side for square, a specific side for rectangular. There's also a pocket here. Now it's shallow, but trust me, you can put things in there, and I'll show you that. And then there's this pocket that goes all the way across the center. And that's really nice if you have like a 3x12 ruler. I have a Quilter Select that I use all the time. I am not supported in any way by any company that I might mention in my videos. These are just products that I use because I like them. So anyway, this is my favorite ruler that I use when I'm quilting, when I'm cutting and things. And so it fits right in there. So when I'm going somewhere, I have a good place to put that. I'm always worried about my ruler snapping and breaking. So that's what this was originally created for. However, you can put a lot of things in here. Say you own the rectangular set of Orange Pop Rulers. You can put them in the rectangular side. Let me do that and I'll show you. Small, medium, and large. See, you can have them on this side, and then you can put anything you want over here. You can slip a book in here, you can slip another ruler in here, all kinds of things. I have a small 9x9 pressing mat that goes in this medium one really easily, and then I also have a small 6x6 applique mat that goes in this small piece. And even on these sides that already have the rulers in, like a book, with your patterns would go really good back here. That would even give more stability to the rulers. So you can put just about anything you want in here. And like I said, it's just really a utilitarian bag. But I wanted to just put that out there for what it was originally intended for as well. So today I'm going to show you how to make this. I'm going to give you all of the dimensions, all of the size information, excuse me. And I am going to do, I've done mine, I've prepped a lot of mine. I've done mine, and I did the original one on my serger. You don't have to have a fancy serger or a more what's the word? Feature rich. That's the term I'm looking for. You don't have to have a feature rich serger. My serger is just a little Baby Lock Lauren. It is the very basic serger that they've made. They don't even make it anymore, but it's just really easy. Nothing special about it really at all. When I used my serger, I used a general 4-thread overlock. Just again, nothing special. If you don't have a serger, that's fine as well. On your sewing machine, you can use a zigzag. You don't want it to be as tight as a satin stitch, and you don't want it really loose either. I'm going to show you right here. That's how it came out on the serger. So if your zigzag kind of is about that width and length, I think you're going to be okay with just that. Let me measure this. So this is actually a 1/4 inch wide right here, so that might help you with your zigzag stitch, and that'll work out really well. I didn't take the time to fold it over and make the seams and all that because that's not what this was about. A lot of times my bag hangs on the back of my door of my sewing room with my rulers in it until I need it, and then sometimes I take it with me. When we were still going to classes and stuff, I would take my stuff in that, but it doesn't have to be really fancy. The pretty on this bag, I like to say, is whatever fabric you choose, okay? Now, as I mentioned, the original one, this prototype that I made, was made with placemats. And you can still make them with placemats if you want to. The sizes that I give you can be cut from placemats. What I have chose to make this one from tonight, or today, is double-sided pre-quilted fabric. There's nothing ultimately special about this. It's not very expensive. It's not your best quilting cotton or anything like that. In fact, more than likely this is a poly cotton. It's got a little bit of batting in it, but it just gives you that little bit of padding that you need for your rulers. And in all honesty, I know double-sided fabrics like this used to be really utilitarian and not in gray, like black on one side, gray on the other, that kind of stuff. Now, they have some pretty nice looking fabrics. That's the one side of this one, and that's the other. So you can certainly go, I'm going to say this, I bought this at the Big J, you know what I'm talking about, store. That's where I got this fabric. I don't use it for anything else other than utilitarian stuff like this. If I'm going to make a mat for babies to lay on the floor and play on, I might put this on as a backing, because as it gets worn and stuff, it won't be a big deal if it's a play mat. If I'm making a nice quilt, I would not use this. That's just me. So I used, let me get my notebook here so I can give you a little bit of sizing information. Here we go. I used, just looking down here to see, so it looks like I used about 39 or 40 inches, so a little over a yard, and the width of fabric. So if you got 1.5 yards of this kind of fabric, you would have leftovers, and that would be okay. In fact, you would have enough leftovers that you could use it to make your straps and stuff. Now, I've used something different for my straps tonight, but you can do the same thing with the fabric that you've made the bag with, okay? Alrighty, so the first thing we want to do is talk about cutting. Now, I have cut my pieces, so I'm going to hold them up and show them to you and give you the sizing. So this first one, we're going to start with the square, so you're going to want to write these notes down. This is the square ruler side, okay? This is the small square. It is 6.5 by 7 inches. So this piece isn't a square, but what goes in it is a square. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, so 6.5 by 7, actually 6.5 by 7.5 inches. 6.5 by 7.5. And the medium one is 7 inches by 10 inches. 7 by 10. That's for the medium on the square side. Now, if you're not going to use this for orange pop rulers, the square rectangle aspect won't mean anything to you, and that's fine too. But these are the sizes that go together to make a unit. Then the last square one, the biggest square one, is 9.5 by 13. 9.5 by 13. So let me give you those measurements again. The small is 6.5 by 7.5. The medium is 7 high, 10 wide. So on the small one, 6.5 tall, 7.5 wide. On this one, the medium, 7 tall, 10 wide. And on the large, 9.5 tall, 13 wide. Okay? And then on the medium, this is what your unit will look like when you have it all put together. You'll do one with these 3 pieces and one with the square 3 pieces. So on this one, your smallest piece is 8.5 by 8.5. And you can say 8.5 by 8.5 rectangle side. Okay? The medium, so that was the small, the medium one is 11 by 10.5. Let me double check which is. Okay, so it's 11 wide, 10.5 tall. And then the largest one for the rectangle side is 13 wide, 12 high. 12 wide, 13 high. Those are the 6 pieces that you need to cut out for your pockets. All right? Okay. Now, you're going to need 2 pieces. These are the larger pieces that make up the body of the bag. They need to be 14 inches wide, and 21 inches long or high. So 21 by 14. Okay? And you need 2 of them. Now, at this point, once you get all those pieces cut, it's time to go ahead and finish off all your edges. As I said, if you're going to use your serger, use a general 4-thread overlock. If you can disengage your blade, go ahead and do that. You don't want to trim off any fabric when you're serging the edges on the pockets and the body pieces. And you want to serge all 4 sides on all of those pieces. Let me just grab some fluff out of my serger basket. So if you end up taking off little bits like that, that'll be okay. But just don't get in there and let your serger take off like 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch, because then your pockets are going to be too small and we don't want that. So 4-thread general overlock. Disengage your blade if you can. If you cannot, just make sure that you keep it away so you're not, so if this is, my finger is the blade here, make sure that the fabric isn't on the other side where it's going to cut off. Make sure it's on this side so it doesn't cut off, okay? Great. All right. Then you're going to need 4, and I used, oh, they're there. I used the fabric that I made this bag with to make these 4 pieces, and these are the ties. And they're 6 inches long and they're 2 inches wide. This is them finished. To finish them, I just serged through, I folded them together. I folded them together so that the inside of the fabric became the outside of the fabric. So this is my inside. This is what shows on my pockets. See, that's how my pockets look. That's the outside side. So what you want to do, if this is that 2x6 piece, you want to fold it so that the inside fabric, the side that shows for your pockets, is on the outside. So you want to, you could say right sides together, but sometimes that can be a little confusing when you've got pretty and pretty, okay? So fold them together, just serge 3 sides. Now, if you don't want to use this fabric, you can use those same measurements and use any coordinating fabric that you want. These do make kind of thick ties. If you want something that's just thinner, just kind of floppy and easier to use, you can use any fabric that coordinates with the fabric that you're using for the bag itself. But you want to make 4 of them. Okay, you want to make 4 of them, and you can set those aside. And then you're going to want to make your straps or your handles. Now, you can use the same fabric to make your handles with. And for the handles, I make them 24 inches long by 4 inches wide. However, I did not use that fabric. I wanted to give this, because I chose to use black thread and use whatever thread coordinates with your fabric. You can't really tell too much that there's black in here, but if you were to look at it close, there's real navy blue and then there's some black in here too. So instead of using a white thread, I chose to use the black. So instead of using that fabric for my straps, I chose to use faux leather. I had this piece laying around, and this faux leather I actually got from England, and it's a really nice faux leather. It sews like a dream. You don't have to use faux leather. You could use cork. Cork would be gorgeous for the handles for this. You could use the fabric again, cork. You could use a coordinating fabric, or what I used in the original one, I just bought, because like I said, I was just making this to be utilitarian. I just brought some web strapping, cut them, and used that. You could use that too. That works fine. So what I did is I took my 4-inch by 24-inch faux leather, folded it together again, wrong sides together, and then this time I serged around all 4 sides of the strap. It turned out, I don't know how well, here, maybe you can see it better with my hand. It turned out beautifully, and this, can you see? You can really see markings and stuff in this faux leather. It's really beautiful, and I just thought, How lovely that will look as a handle with that. So you want to make 2 straps, and that is your measurements and all the material that you need for this bag. So really not too much. You need your basically 1.5 yards of your double-sided fabric, and you need a little bit either of that leftover fabric for straps and the ties, or a faux leather or cork, or a pre-made webbed strapping, anything you like. Okay, so now that I have all of that, and I will try to remind of the measurements as we're going along in the sewing. So the very first thing we want to do with this bag is, after you've cut your pieces, you've cut all your pieces, and you've serged or zigzagged all around all your sides, you've made your straps, you've made your ties, then it's time to put the bag together. And it's really fairly simple. It's not complicated. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to put my camera down to kind of show you this part, because we're going to start sewing now, which is the fun part, right? Alrighty, let's put this down so you can see. This is my large piece. This is one of my large pieces for the body. This side is going to be my outside. So I'm going to flip it over. And the reason I did that is because I chose to use this side on the inside where you saw the pockets. What you want to do is you want to take, and from one end you want to use a pencil, depending on your fabric, if it's light enough you could use a heat erasable pen, you could use a chalk marker, you could use a Choco marker. I'm using, this is a Fons and Porter chalk pen. I like these a lot because they make a nice fine line. But you're going to come up 5 inches. Going to put down your ruler, and you're just going to make a line. It doesn't have to be a heavy line, but you want to be able to see it. And you want to mark all the way. Oops, hang on, I didn't do mine quite dark enough. I'm going to move some things there. Just going to come up here, line that back up, and make my line. Okay, so you can see I have this faint chalk line here, and that's all I need. So now you want to take your other piece, and you want to have your right sides together, and you want everything lined up, and you want that piece with the chalk line on top so you can see it. Now, I don't ever rarely, let's just say rarely, don't get myself in trouble there, rarely do I ever use pins. I call them Wonder Clips because I grew up in a generation where tissue that you use for your nose was called Kleenex, because that was a brand that everybody used, so it was called Kleenex, or maybe Puffs, but a Kleenex meant a tissue. Well, when I say Wonder Clips, I'm just talking about a quilting clip. Any old brand will do. So take your clip, and then I'm just clipping right there. I'm just putting, it doesn't matter exactly where, I'm just putting a few clips on here to kind of keep it together. And only on this side down here where that mark is. You don't have to worry about everything from that side. Okay. You should have the same color thread in your sewing machine and in the sewing machine bobbin as you had in your serger, so that everything blends and coordinates. Now I'm going to take these 2 pieces to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew down this entire line. I'm going to do a little back stitch at the beginning, a little back stitch at the end. So you can go ahead and do that if you like. I'm going to bring this back up. There we go. I'm going to, whoops. There we go. So I'm going to go and sew this line at that 5-inch mark. So I'm going to turn around and do it right here. For this bag, if you have a walking foot for your sewing machine, it's a great idea to use it. You do get into several layers of thickness, and the walking foot just takes it just like that. A regular foot can be used. You might need to slowly help it along a little bit. And if you have a walking foot, by all means, go ahead and put that on your machine and use it, because it'll be very helpful. So now we have basically this one big piece. Here is our outside, and here is our inside, and what's that all about, right? Well, that's going to be where the slip pocket and the this pocket and the slip pocket are going to be. So let me put this back down. There we go. So now what you want to do, and if you have a little iron or any iron, you can give that a little bit of a press if you want. Oh, my iron's it helps if I turn my iron back on. I turned it off. Those little irons get so hot. So basically what you're doing is you're going to fold it outwards. On one side, the side where you're going to put the rectangular set of blocks, you don't want to do anything with that yet, because we're going to have to sew those in there before we do anything with this. But on the other side, where the where the square blocks are going to go, you're going to want to go to your sewing machine with this piece. Oops, there. Give that a little press now. I'm only pressing this straight on my table because this is pretty thick, and the heat won't transfer through enough to hurt my mat. So on this side, because I'm going to have my squares on this side, I'm going to now go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew right here. So it's about 1/4 inch, but it's right here at the edge of where my serge or where your zigzag is. You're going to sew up. You're going to sew all the way across and all the way down on this side. That is going to give you the slip pocket so that your ruler can go in from that side. That's on the side with the small pockets. Now I'm going to show you in the original. Here's my original. So on this side, this will eventually be the pocket that goes like this, but on this side, these are the square for the square rulers. And so I've sewn this here. Oh, actually, I'm so glad I just looked at it. You don't want to sew the sides on this one. I'm so sorry. That was completely wrong. Don't sew your sides or you won't get anything in there. It's been a long day. All you want to do, so don't sew here, don't sew here. All you want to do is go to your machine and sew 1/4 inch along that long edge. You all probably caught that. I'm so sorry. So just sew 1/4 inch right along there. So I'm going to turn around. If it makes it easier for you to keep that nice and down, just pop yourself a clip or a pin right there, and that'll hold it down for you. Give me just 1 second to turn around, and I'll be right back. Now, please don't think that you have to have a big fancy machine to get this done because of the bulk and all. I am sewing, let's see, let me bring this up. I am sewing today on this Little Brother XR3340, and it's doing just fine. So you don't have to have a big machine in order to get this fabric through, but I am using a walking foot. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, so this side. Let me just trim. There we go. Trim my threads. Pop that clip off. And now you can see, now I have that tubular slip pocket, and my ruler can go in there, and there's enough room in there because this is nice and wide. So let's say you have a 4 by 24. Is that what this is? 1, 2. This is a 3.5 by 24. It can slide in there as well. Now, obviously, it's going to stick out on both sides, but not a lot. And with your other ruler in there too, it's still going to make, let me bring this up, it's still going to make a nice way to either store or carry your big rulers with you, okay? There we go. All right, so we have that part done. Now, what I want to do next, we're going to come back to this piece, okay? What I want to do next is attach our straps, attach our handles. So what you want to do is now just fold your bag in half, grab your first strap. I'm going to tilt this down again. Okay, you want to take, again, your marking pen or pencil of choice. Make sure everything's nice and even up here at the edge. Clip off a couple more strings. There we go. So what you want to do is you want to come in 1.5 inches from the edge. Let's do this first. Let's come down first. So you want to come down 2 inches and make yourself a mark there where that 2-inch mark is. Okay? And then you want to come in 1.5 inches. So let's put, oh, there we go. I'm left-handed, so I always kind of have to think about how to put this so you can see it. All right, so there's 1.5 inches in, and there's my 2 inches. Just going to make myself a mark right there. So what I want to do is I want to take my strap, one end of one strap, I want to put the outer edge right there at that intersection. So right where, so it will be down 2 inches and in 1.5 inches. Then I am going to take a couple of clips and clip that to the fabric. Then I'm going to come over to my sewing machine. I am going to, again, I'm going to stitch right on the edge of the serged stitch or the zigzag stitch, regardless of which machine you use. I'm going to come down, across, up, and then I am going to go over. And then if you want to, you can do that again and leave this blank, or you can do this square once and then do an X. Okay, let me turn around and do that now. Okay, so this is what I did. I'm going to hold this up. I started on one edge. I came down to the top of my stitching. I came across, I took a back stitch here, came down, came across, came up, came across again, took 2 back stitches, 2 forward stitches, and then I angled it so I didn't even take my needle up. I just sewed straight this way. I came across the bottom again and then straight this way. Took 2 back stitches and then I'm done. And see, that strap is good and on there now. All right. Now we have that one done. My scissors there. notice how things just get lost on your tables when you're sewing? Okay, so there we go. So now we want to take our ruler again, come over to this edge, and again we want to come in, or we want to come down this way 2 inches. Yes, I'm losing my voice a little bit. The allergies are really, really bad now. My husband and I both had drainage and stuff going on all day, and so it's I've noticed my voice is starting to go. My throat's not sore, my voice is just going a little. So I'm going to make my little line there. So right there at that point, that's where I want. Now, when you bring your strap over, just make it fall so that it's not twisted. Just make sure if you do that, you're going to have a twist. You want to make sure and do it like that. Come over your outside edge. I'm going to clip a string off. Your outside edge is going to come right to that point, and that's where you're going to clip your strap. Now, when I do this with straps, I always look at the end. Do I actually have that where I want? I kind of do a double measure. See, this shows that my strap needs to come down more. I've placed it in the wrong place. There we go. Oh, I know, because this should have been 1.5 inches. Hang on. That's what I did wrong. Telling you being a lefty is very confusing. So I know I've got it there. I want that there. There we go. So just use your, if you double check and it doesn't look right, that just didn't look right to me, just use your ruler here and match up. So now I'm where I want to be. I'm going to go back to my machine, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Stitch here, do a back stitch, stitch down, stitch across, stitch up, stitch over, 2 back stitches, 2 forward stitches, diagonal here, across the bottom, diagonal here, 2 back stitches, and you're done. And you're going to do that for the second handle as well. And so we're going to walk through this 2 more times because I'm going to do that second handle for you as soon as I'm done with this one. Let me bring my camera up. Take off my magnifiers. There we go. And one handle is on and complete. Now we're going to take the other side and our other handle and do the exact same thing. Okay, let's see. Turn that little iron off so it doesn't damage anything. All right. So again, we're going to come down 2 inches. And over, let me get a better mark there so I can see it. There we go. And over from the edge, 1.5 inches. There we go. My strap, the outer edge will go right there. 2 clips. And away we go. Alrighty, so we've got this one nice and on there. Bring it back up. Oops, let's get some of these threads off. And we're going to do, so this time I'm actually going to lay this there, so make sure and get my line up right. And then I'm just going to make sure that my strap is going properly so it doesn't twist. Now I've got that where I want it. 2 clips, and I've got a thread there I want to take off, and one there. Okay. Black thread and black stitches, sometimes you don't see your threads all the time. While you're doing it, you need a good light to see that. So now I'm going to go and attach the last part of the second strap, and then we're moving on to our pockets. We're all done. I find, I don't know about all of you, but I find the handles always to be the most tedious part of any bag. I don't know why, but I do. So let's bring this up. There we go. Now we have our 2 handles on. Aren't they pretty? Okay, now that the handles are done, we're going to go ahead and sew on the ties. So again, this is pretty easy. Let me bring the camera back down. So this is the inside of your bag. Here's your handle. So I want, oops, more strings, gosh. Okay, so you're going to take, you can decide whether you want your stitching on the top or on the bottom. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to put my ruler so it's flush corner to corner right there. And I'm going to, that's 3 inches down. And I'm going to come in an inch. And I'm going to clip that on. Just kind of the way we did the handles. Except this time, I'm actually going to use this little baby clip. I like these. We're going to use these again here in a minute. This time, all I'm going to do is do a square sew around. I'm not going to do the corner to corner part. So while we're here, I'm going to do that over here as well. Line up with the corner. I've got my stitching going down on this one, so I'm going to have my stitching going down here. I'm going to come in an inch. Let's get that going in the right direction. And I'm going to clip. And clip. Now I'm going to go sew these on, then I'll come back and we'll do the other side. So now, there we go. So now I have my ties on. From the outside, just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to do my other side, just exactly the same way. Make sure that they're all going in the same direction. So if your stitching is going up, make sure they're all going up. If your stitching's going down, make sure it's all going down. But this is easy. Here, watch me one more time. I'm going to line up corner to corner with my ruler. And let's see, I've got my stitching going down, so I'm going to come in 1 inch and clip or pin. Right there you go. Now I'm going to come over and do this side. I'm going to line up right there corner to corner. Come in 1 inch. See, that's why I love that 3 by 12 inch ruler. It just works for everything so well. Now maybe I love it so much and so I make it work that way, because most of my stuff is always like 3 by 12. So there. Now I'm going to go sew these on, and I've got my stitching on the down side, on the bottom. I'm going to go sew those on. There we go. Now I have all my ties on. So I thought this class would be an easy peasy A, because I already knew how to sew. I'd been sewing for years. So I was like 14. I had been sewing since I was 5. So I'd been sewing a long time. Well, the teacher wanted you, she was like, although she didn't really teach, she said go by a pattern and do it by the pattern, and you came to class and did it. She didn't like walk around and really help people. But she said, you must follow the pattern exactly. And by the time I had been sewing that long, I was like making my own adjustments and stuff. And she wanted to fail me in the class. My mother had to come and talk to her. And then I did the whole piece over the way she wanted, but my mother had to come and talk to her. All right, folks, we are done with the outer part of the bag. Okay? It's kind of floppy at the moment because it doesn't have anything in it. So now what we're going to do is start working on our pockets. So let me put this down again. This is the piece I already have put together. This is for the rectangles. As you can see, the small sits on the medium sits on the large. These are super duper simple. So that piece is done, and I'm going to do the small ones with you. And I'm not going to walk through the whole kit and caboodle with you again on both sets. We'll do this set together. Okay. So the medium rectangle side, or the medium square side, is 7 by 10. Okay, that's your, I do have pins on these, don't I? They're sticky, but sticky never works really well on fabric. So 7 by 10. I'm going to take it and fold it in half, side to side. Take a pin, or if you have these baby mini Wonder Clips, I'm going to turn this so you can see it. When I fold it in half, I put that Wonder Clip right there in the crease. Then when I open it up, it's right there, right where I want it to be. You can do that with a pin too. That way I'm not marking everything. So then I'm going to take my small square, or my small piece, which is for the square side is 6.5 by 7.5. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a finger press. And then I'm going to unfold it, and I'm going to put that center piece right on top of that little clip. Then I'm going to take 2 regular clips, clip one there, and I'm going to clip one there. Do not remove that clip. These 2 will come off. That one won't. Take this to the sewing machine, and again, on the inside of your serge stitch or your zigzag, I want you to take a couple back stitches here at the top so that the pocket will be nice and sealed on there, because it's going to get some use taking things in and out. Sew all the way down, again, couple back stitches and all the way off. Do not sew across the bottom yet, right? So let's go do that. And there you go. Now I've got my small square pocket attached to my medium square pocket. This is still open at the bottom, I know. Don't worry about that yet. Now we're going to take our large piece. This one is 9.5 vertical, 13 horizontal. And I'm going to take and fold it in half, just like I did the medium and the small. You're going to do this exact same thing with this other set of pockets, folks, okay? They're both done the exact same way. They're different sizes, but that doesn't matter. They're made exactly the same way. I'm going to give this a good, nice pinch here at the crease. If you want, you could even put it on your pressing mat and give it a little press there. So right there in the middle. Now I'm going to take this, and where this clip is, I'm going to line it up right there on that same place. And I'm going to take the clip and just adjust it so now it's holding all 3 pieces together. Then I'm going to place a clip on each side again. When we go to the sewing machine this time, we're going to sew down both of the verticals again, just like we did before, on the inside. So it's about 1/4 of an inch or so, but right on the inside of the stitching. Once you've done both the verticals, do them first. Then remove all of your clips, even this center one, and sew all 3 of them together across this. Sew all the way, just from end to end, even though there's nothing attached to these outer little edges. Just go ahead and sew across the whole thing. Okie doke. When you get to your pieces, you don't really need to do any back stitches, just sew all the way across. Alrighty. Done. Small, medium, and then the large will go behind this one, and the back here will be the body. All right, now all we have to do, and then we're done, is put these inside the body of the bag. So let's bring the body of our bag again, and let's lay it out so that the inside is facing up. Get our straps and our ties and everything out of the way. Let's go ahead and get the rectangular side out of the way. So here's our rectangular side. See, by making these as units of pockets and adding them in, it really, I think it saves a ton of time. So I'm going to tell you the measurements on the rectangular side one more time. For the large one, 12 by 13. For the medium one, 11 by 10.5. For the smaller one, 8.5 by 8.5. We went over those all at the beginning, but I wanted to tell them to you again. So now I want you to take this unit with your open part of the pocket facing the handle, so facing here. I want you to take the unit, and seriously folks, if you want to measure, you may. But with this, I really think you can eye it pretty good, because you're really not going to have much more than about, I don't think more than 1/2 inch on each side. Let's see. Yep, right at 1/2 inch there. Yep, and right at 1/2 inch there. So if you have 1/2 inch on each side, you're right in the middle. I want you to take it, and I want you to lay it, butt it up right next to the seam. So this is our open flap still. I want you to butt it up right next to that seam. Now, if you have some longer, they have these jumbo clips. You can place one on the outside there to come in and kind of really get them to hang on. Or you can pin here and here. Take this to the machine, do a back stitch, come all the way across, do a back stitch, okay? Oh, let me just go ahead and tell you. So go ahead and attach here. Once you've done that, then again, here on the piece of the unit, attach it along both sides, just like we did before. One set of pockets are installed. Let me bring this up. There you go. One set of pockets are installed. Now, we have just a teeny bit more on this side. Now, take the flat piece that's just been waving out there, fold it over on top of the pockets. Get yourself some clips. Make sure it's lined up with the edge of the fabric here. Clip it down. You're not going to do anything here because that becomes your new pocket. Clip it there. Now you're going to go and do again on the inside of the serged or zigzagged edge. You're going to sew down, take a couple of stitches at both ends, and you're going to do this side the same way. Be right, quite honest. So here we go. Let me just get these last couple of, there we go. So now, pocket here. So this is great for books. Again, hang on, let me grab my things over here. I have a small pressing mat that can go in there. My small applique mat can go in there. My free motion quilting frames that I like to use for king. I mean, all of that can sit in there, because by the time you have both sides filled up and you have this up and tied, those are going to stay in there nicely for you. You probably wouldn't put all of that in there. I know I wouldn't, but I'm just showing you what you can put in there. Like I said, books, really whatever you want. So now the rectangular side of the bag is complete. Gosh, I keep seeing strings. Okay. Alrighty. Now we're just going to slide it over. So here is our slip pocket that we've already made. And we have, the last thing to do is to put in our square unit. So see right here where our edge of the slip pocket is sewn down. Just kind of like we did on the other side, we're going to line up our square pocket unit. Okay. It is going to sit butted up to this edge. Okay. So unlike over here where the pockets are down here, attached down here, this set of pockets are going to be attached right here. Again, you might want to use jumbo clips if you have them, or pins. I don't know if regular clips fit in that well. Oh, they might catch it just enough for you there to use a regular quilting clip. But I like those jumbos. So I put my jumbo clip there. I make sure I'm all lined up. Put my jumbo clip there. Back stitch on this end, back stitch on this end. Then we are done. Yay! Okay, here we go. Now on this side, oops, I do this every time. Sorry, I have to sew these edges as well. I don't know why I forget that every bloomin' time. Let me go back and sew the edges. I am such a goof. Would be. Just plain little. I don't use a black bobbin very often, so I didn't wind a full one. All right, there you go. This side, this side, this side. Let me show you what it looks like with the orange pop rulers in it. Now again, whatever you like. Here's my large orange pop ruler. Square goes in there. There's my medium. There's my small. Then here's my, goes in my slip sleeve. Then on this other side, my big rectangle goes in, my medium rectangle goes in, and my small goes in. I can put anything else I want in there, but I fold it up. Now I don't, because these are thick ties, I don't do a bow. Sometimes I don't even do a knot, I just tie them because they're pretty thick. They'll stay shut. Let me bring this up. Okay, guys, here we go. Orange pop ruler bag. Grab and go tote. Turned out pretty nice, I think, yeah? So let me just say, folks, this bag is kind of a labor of love for someone who I've actually never met. This should have been done, this video should have been done about a year ago, but I ended up in the hospital with really severe anemia. My hemoglobin level was 2.8. It should have been at least 11.5 up to 14. My doctor said I was literally hours, maybe a couple of days from never waking up again. But I am fully healthy now, and I am blessed to be so. And Marianne, this lovely lady, has waited that whole time because I had shown this one and started the original video before I ended up sick in the hospital. And she has waited this whole year for me to do this video of this bag. So I actually call this my Marianne Grab and Go Tote. I hope you've all enjoyed it. Again, more videos coming, of which the system will be a little more finessed. But I hope you saw everything. I gave you the instructions. Like I said, use it, make as many as you want, use it as often as you want for anything you want. You might find complete other ideas. If you have questions about anything I talked about in the video, instead of putting notes here on this video, because I don't always get them, it seems, please contact me through private messaging on my Facebook page, Heartfelt Creative, so heartfelt, one word, creative, one word, with, and that's the W, small w, and a slash, Diana. Heartfelt Creative with Diana. Contact me through private message or on that page with a message. Just reference the Grab and Go Tote for rulers, and I'll be happy to answer your questions anytime. Okay? Thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy making your tote. Have a great day. Go sew the world beautiful. Bye now.